All right, I think we'll go ahead and get started here, and might have some late attendees, but we'll get going. So, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the December edition of Storytime for Adults. Is it Holiday Dumpster Fire or Dumpster Fire Holidays, Linda?
I think it's Dumpster Fire Holiday Edition.
I'm gonna
I
go with
think
Holiday Dumpster Fire.
it's the
That's
same
the
idea.
that's what I'll go for. Uh, I am Barry McKnight with the La Crosse Public Library. This is the first ones we've done since October. For those of you who are attending for the first time, I'll just explain kind of what Storytime for Adults is all about. Librarians, library staff, friends of the library are going to read short stories, essays, book excerpts, generally related to the theme of the month. Most are going to be funny, some might be serious. Hopefully, enjoy all of them. We're not going to take a break tonight. We'll just kind of go all the way through. Um, I've got a few readers. If you have any questions, you can throw them in the chat and I'll try to address some of them on the interim. But here we go. So I'm going to start us off with a piece from McSweeney's from Catherine LeClaire. And, you know, I chose this because there's a term in here that we've heard a lot of this last year. Year before that too, but especially this last year. It's called My Mother's Annual Holiday Letter is Spreading Fake News. Dear extended family, it's come to my attention that many of you have been using the LeClaire family newsletter written and sent out by my mother each holiday season as your primary source of information on our life updates. Normally, I ignore this habit of hers completely, but while I was home over Thanksgiving, I happened to see a copy of it sitting in my parents' dusty printer tray, so I decided to actually read it for once. Now, I don't want to upset you when I tell you this, but this letter is filled with fake news. You might be thinking, what do you mean fake news? What I mean is my mother has been intentionally lying about how my siblings and I are doing, particularly those of us who are no longer in college, so that we might seem to be doing better than we actually are. For example, my mother wrote that Chris is considering accepting a position at an engineering firm in Denver. Unfortunately, that's a bit too generous. Chris is actually still has yet to use his engineering degree and currently works at a ski resort operating the chairlift so he can get a free season pass. Mom also said in her letter that he's more spiritual these days, which just means he uses incense to cover up the smell of weed in his apartment when she and dad visit. You might have read that Meredith is taking a few months sabbatical from her job at a startup to do some soul searching. I really wish this was the case, and I hate to break it to you this way, but actually she was laid off. As it turns out, people don't need an app to help them decide which laundromat to use. She'll bounce back, but for now, she's spending much of her time rewatching Gilmore Girls and eating a lot of cheese on cheese sandwiches, which is a cheese sandwich where you use cheese as the bread slices, which my mom has falsely referred to as a cleanse. Now, I know it's probably shocking to hear that my mother is an unreliable source of information for her own family. For some of you, she's your sister. You trusted her, but the truth is that my mom has some biases and personal agendas that you all need to be aware of. Many of you are lawyers, doctors, and executives, and mom feels the need to impress you at any cost. She even went so far as to say that I'm on a diligent search for the one, which she knows very well that the only true one I'm looking for is a houseplant that thrives in low light. Now, don't get me wrong, I wish we were doing as great as mom says we are, but I need to set the record straight on a few more things. Mom's new quilting hobby is presently just a bag of fabric scraps. Dad ran uncontested on his underdog campaign for city council. Maisie the dog's classic mischief has expanded to eating the crotches out of everyone's underwear. And I suppose it's worth noting that the one factually accurate statement mom made is that AJ is a sophomore at Fordham. I think we could all agree that his grades could be a lot better. Now, the good news is that learning the truth is within your control. I urge you first to confront my mother by calling her on our landline. Your calls will make a difference. And second, you need to educate yourself. I want to empower you to seek out primary sources yourself simply by asking my siblings and I how we are doing at the next family gathering. Talking to each other and really listening is the key to stopping this fake family news from spreading. And together, we can push my mother's newsletter to be more honest and become better informed family members. Finally, I just want to say that I'm sure you're all wary that you can't trust my letter either. In a family where household or holiday notes are filled with faux pleasantries and airbrushed realities designed to maintain appearances, I understand that you might not know who or what to believe. But I want you to know that I've called each of my siblings to fact check what I've written. I value the integrity of this letter, and I want you to consider me a trusted source of information about our family. Plus, I think we can agree that this letter is not being written for my own benefit. I really look forward to putting the newsletters aside and having some great face-to-face conversations with all of you at Christmas Eve party this year. I'm making eggnog. Cheers, Barry. So that was my mother's holiday letter is fake news. Thank you, everybody. And we're gonna bring on our next reader, Lacrosse Public Library teen librarian, Linda Jerome. Welcome, Linda.
Hi, thanks, Barry. Hi, everyone. I'm going to be reading to you from, it's very short. It's called 'Twas the Night Before Christmas, the Facebook edition by Linda Sharps. Here we go. 'Was Christmas on Facebook when all through the house, every parent was posting and clicking their mouse. The Instagram filters were chosen with care in the hopes that each image would soon get a share. Each status included a funny thing their kid said, so much to be documented, so much to be read. And Junior on his potty and Missy mid-nap, everyone geotagged and placed on a map. When somewhere off screen there arose such a clatter, I sprang from my laptop to see what was the matter. Away from my monitor, I began to explore, blinked in the non-LCD light and opened the door. The moon was so pretty, like a promoted post. And suddenly I saw it, a surprise Christmas ghost. Yes, what to my wondering eyes should appear but a miniature sleigh and 8 tiny reindeer. When a little old driver climbed down the apparatus, I immediately wanted to update my status. But more rapid than eagles, his phrases they came, and he whistled and shouted and called them by name. Now friend me, now like me, now poke me and share. On political rant, on pet photo, on awkward public prayer. To the top of the porch, to the top of the wall, now dash away, dash away, dash away all. And then I realized my posting was belated. Why'd I describe Santa's visit like this? It was complicated. As I reached for my phone and clicked the mobile app, suddenly on my shoulder, there came a gentle tap. He looked a bit weary, that Santa all told, and he told me my updates were getting quite old. Some e-cards, the gym check-ins, the stuff from George Takei. On that last one, he actually rolled his twinkly eye. Your cat photos, so annoying. Your kid pictures, so corny. You're cluttering my newsfeed with statuses that bore me. And his droll little mouth was drawn up to let fly, and he was totally giving me the Santa stink eye. He spoke not a word more, but went straight to my browser and perused my timeline as he hitched up his trousers. And rubbing his head with a murmur of how banal, and giving a nod, he deleted my wall. Then he sprang to his sleigh and to his team gave a whistle, and away they all flew like the down of a thistle. But I heard him exclaim, "You've been a fine hostess. Happy Facebook to all, and I bet 99% of you won't repost this." The end.
Nice. Thank you, Linda. All right, our next reader is also one of the Storytime for Adult regulars and a fan favorite, Jess Whitkins, joined by her husband, Joe Ganser. Welcome.
Hello, thanks for having us. I thought for the end of the year, this would be a fitting piece because we've all been isolated with our significant others. So I picked love poems for married people.
Is it possible you are sending me a sexy signal? The kids are finally down and you are looking at me in that way. Tease. Or are you just spacing out? Wait, yep, you're just spacing out. You unzip your skirt and your baggy underpants right away, way up on your hips. How old are those anyway? You pull on some sweatpants and a t-shirt and a sweater and a fleece, and I am not able to make out any contour of your body at all. I think you are sending me a signal in the way that married couples send each other signals. And just so we're clear, you're signaling, I'm going to call my sister and order sushi. You should do something too.
You are different. I want to share my life with you. I do. I said those words in front of all our friends, as well as your incredibly annoying family. You're different. That's what I thought when we met. I told my friends, he's different. They said you weren't. And now we are married for life. Is that right? Well, that seems like a long time. But here's something. You're different from like when we met. Your OkCupid profile said, I like running and hiking and cooking. Have you ever cooked? And you seem to have parked that running thing for a while. I'm kind of thinking a lot of that was bullshit. If we were to redo your profile, hypothetically, what would we write? I like sitting, not showering. I enjoy putting my hand on the front of my shorts and scratching my balls, and occasionally looking at my new wife and saying, sup, which is a weird thing to say to your wife.
When are you planning to turn off your Kindle? They say love is light. I think they do. I'm not really sure. I might have heard that in a Subaru commercial. The point is that I see your light right now, and I wish I didn't, because I'm really tired and I had a long day, and I have to get up early tomorrow, all of which you know. Another thing they say is that a man can know a thing but forget it almost instantly, like a goldfish. I sigh when I'm annoyed, but you don't hear me because you have earbuds in and are watching what appears to be a video of people body surfing on pudding. And here I thought you were reading a book. Maybe love is like light, in that it can dim, fade, and go out completely. Seriously, would it kill you to watch that in the bathroom?
Date night. Who are you?
What?
Texting. I was just wondering.
Sorry, what?
Well, you're texting, and I just.
Client, sorry, wait. They're changing
What?
Meeting tomorrow now.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess I'll check.
Done. So, who are you?
1 second. Sorry. Fuck.
Work?
What?
Is it work?
Wait, I told them where the file was.
Who?
What?
Nothing.
Damn it, it's on the thumb drive. They know that.
What is?
What?
Nothing.
This restaurant's nice.
What?
Preview. I am dreaming, but it feels so real. A man. Is it you? Not even close. It's Rob, Casey's husband, the one with the Italian accent. We are on a beach, Rob and me, not you. He chases me playfully and we laugh, and then my top falls off. Oops, I giggle, and he catches me. And then a terrible smell, like garbage, wet dog, death. I am blinking and awake, your breath hot on my face. You son of a bitch. Rob, come back.
Orgy. Autumn, overcast and cool. Wood smoke scented air, leaves in the yard. We decided to go out back among the tall hedgerows to rake and bag the leaves. You said in a very sexy voice.
We're out of garbage bags.
And in your shrugging, I might have seen your breasts move, had they not been covered under your fleece sweatshirt and work shirt.
Well, I'm going in.
You said after a while. Later, we heated up Dinty Moore beef stew, and then you went to bed. I watched half a Jason Bourne movie. Did I say orgy? Sorry, my mind wandered. I meant yard work.
At the kitchen sink. I was feeling fondness for you as you gave me a shoulder massage at the sink. What a small, lovely surprise. And then you cupped my boobs and made a wah-wah noise. And in an instant, I felt disgust and sadness and regret.
Let's spice things up. That's what you said when we were ordering in the Mexican restaurant. And I said, oh my God, are you serious? And you smiled and said,
Totally, spicy as nicey.
You said in a weird accent, laughing, but also a little embarrassed at the weird accent thing. And I said, it would have to be with a woman, though, not a guy. And you said,
What are you talking about?
and I said, aren't you talking about having a threesome? Then you get a look on your face sometimes, and you got it here. And you said,
I was talking about getting the mole and maybe some pico de gallo.
to which I said, oh, okay. It's a good idea, too.
Is this the right time for that? Standing at the door, ready to go, tapping my foot. We are late to my sister's surprise party. I turn and see you standing in the kitchen like a man on a summer afternoon by a lake, casually adjusting a fishing pole. Only it's not a fishing pole, it's fingernail clippers, and you are cutting your fingernails over the sink. You look up, and perhaps because of the expression on my face, you say,
What?
"It would be impossible for me to explain if you don't already understand." Emily's name isn't Rachel. You remember so much that isn't useful. World War II battles and facts about the Constitutional Congress, the Red Sox lineup from 2004, and dialogue from the movie Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. But on the way to the neighbor's party, you ask the question you always ask, the one you've asked 100 times, 1,000?
What's Gary's wife's name? Is it Rachel?
Nope, it's not Rachel. It's never been Rachel. It's Emily.
And she's from Boston, you say?
No. What? No, she's from Los Angeles.
Huh? Who's from Boston? Is it her ex-husband, Greg?
No ex-husband. No one named Greg. It's Gary. Just Gary.
I thought Rachel had a family in the Boston area.
What are you talking about?
And their kids are Peter and Grace, right?
Not even close. Astrid and Colette.
Weird. I could have sworn.
You have the address, I ask.
Oh, sure. 248 Sycamore Lane.
9 Oriole Street, I say.
Really? Who the heck am I thinking of then?
No idea. Just please tell me you remembered the beer and wine.
Absolutely.
What time should we leave for the airport? I have a car service coming at 7.
But isn't our flight at 9:30?
Yes, why?
7, wow. Okay. So 7 is cutting it close, don't you think?
For a 9:30 flight?
Fine, whatever. Do what you want.
Don't be like that. I'll do 6:45.
Sure.
Seriously? That's not early enough?
If it were me, I would do 6:15, maybe even 6. The 405 is a nightmare.
But we've already checked in and we have no bags to check.
Hello? Security lines?
Why are you talking like that?
Whatever.
I'm calling now. I'm making it for 6.
5:45 might be smarter.
You've got to be kidding me.
I don't kid about traffic.
Did you take something?
Look, all I'm saying is that if it were me, I'd do 5:30. I would make it for 5:30.
Why not make it 5?
Well, I don't know if that's your sarcastic voice, but I agree 100%.
Okay then. I'm now calling and making a reservation for a car at 5 a.m. tomorrow.
AM? Isn't the flight in the evening?
We finish each other's. You guys, it was the worst hotel ever.
You said you were telling the story at the dinner party about the horrible vacation.
The rooms?
Smell the cigarette smoke, I said, jumping in because I think I tell it better. But you kept going.
Shh, David, cigarette smoke, and we asked
to switch rooms 3 times, I said, but
all the rooms smelled the same. David.
Like smoke, I added needlessly, looking at you because I was telling it, even though you were telling it first. But I think we can agree that seriously, I tell it better. But I get a sense that you don't agree because you looked at me and said in your quiet, angry voice,
I'm telling it.
And you said,
So we asked this adorable little man at the front desk.
No. Before we see a guy smoking.
We saw him after we went to the front desk.
No, before. And we asked the guy, do you have any non-smoking rooms?
And he says,
Oh, yes, you can smoke in any of them.
You are such an asshole sometimes.
You said it got quiet after that. And then I said the concierge didn't say the asshole part to us, just the smoke thing. We haven't been to a dinner party in a while, have we?
Love Poems for Married People by John Kenny.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. That was great. Now, another one of our regulars, the librarian at UWL's Murphy Library, Terry Holford. Welcome, Terry.
Thank you. Just wait, I gotta get my light. Okay. So I chose two small poems on snow because I think we could use some snow to get into the Christmas season. So this is like a snow dance. Okay, we're gonna make it snow in the next few days. So the first one, they're both very short, and the first one is by Billy Collins, who is one of my favorite poets, and he was the United States Poet Laureate several years ago, and so his poem is called Snow. I cannot help noticing how this slow monk solo seems to go somewhere with the snow that is coming down this morning. How the notes and the spaces accompany its easy falling on the geometry of the ground, on the flagstone path, the slanted roof, and the angles of the split rail fence. As if he had imagined a winter scene as he sat at the piano late one night at the 5 spot playing Ruby, My Dear. Then again, it's the kind of song that would easily go with rain or a tumult of leaves. And for that matter, it's a snow that could attend an adagio for strings, the best of the Ronettes, or George Thorogood and the Destroyers. It falls so indifferently into the spacious white parlor of the world. If I were sitting here reading in silence, reading the morning paper, or reading Being and Nothingness, not even letting the spoon touch the inside of the cup, I have a feeling the snow would even go perfectly with that. By Billy Collins. Okay, another one that I thought I would read because it's appropriate, and as this time of the year is always filled with ritual and traditions, you will recognize Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening by Robert Frost. Whose woods these are, I think I know. His house is in the village, though. He will not see me stopping here to watch his woods fill up with snow. My little horse must think it queer to stop without a farmhouse near, between the woods and frozen lake, the darkest evening of the year. He gives his harness bells a shake to ask if there is some mistake. The only other sounds the sweep of easy wind and downy flake. The woods are lovely, dark, and deep, but I have promises to keep, and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep. So that's our snow dance, and it's going to snow in a couple of days because of that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's beautiful, Terry. All right, so now we're bringing Scott Brower, archivist from the La Crosse Public Library. We're going to do a little something different, and Scott, take it away.
Before coronavirus affected all plans everywhere, the stories you're about to hear were meant to be the content of an episode of the video series Dark La Crosse Stories, which is a collaboration with the La Crosse Tribune. It was set to be released in October before what would have been the 6th year of our annual stage production at the Pump House, the Dark La Crosse Show. The Dark La Crosse Show is where all of the stories you hear tonight debuted. For the last couple of years, we have included what we call interludes. These are quick, often very funny bits that act as kind of palate cleansers after particularly dark or somber stories. Usually an intriguing headline catches us while we're researching other things in the archives, and we set it aside for later exploration. These 8 interludes were featured in the 2018 and 2019 Dark La Crosse shows. The 2020 Dark La Crosse show, perhaps we will get a chance to create this episode with the Tribune, and it will be a teaser for the 2021 show that got canceled this year. Okay, so Jess is up first, and I'm going to share, so hopefully you can see a new slide.
Louis Wittenberg, 23, and Otto Dassey, 22, were arrested in 1913 for impersonating a police officer. Wittenberg and Dassey decided to harass a former resort keeper, or brothel madam, Hazel Winter, at her home on 2nd and Pine Streets. The young men represented themselves as detectives investigating resorts in La Crosse and displayed a document bearing the name of the police chief. Informed that the resort days were over in La Crosse, they maintained they'd been watching Winter's house and had enough evidence to close it. The men told Winter, "So if you can slip us $25, we may be able to keep this quiet and report your place as being all right." Winter claimed to only have $5, and so the young men agreed to return in 2 days for the remainder of her payment. In the meantime, Miss Winter consulted her good friend and former colleague, Frankie LaSalle, over the incident. When Wittenberg returned for his second installment, Miss LaSalle took him to a private room where he was given a beating and then thrown into the street. Dassey, it is claimed, did not appear the second time.
La Crosse resident Odin Olsen was born in Norway and had immigrated to the United States along with 3 of his brothers. He had been employed at the Stay Right Engine Company plant for several years at the time of his death. His death on the job from injuries sustained during a fall on the stairs can only be described as ironic when you learn that he had been a most distinguished elevator operator.
And now for a reading from the La Crosse Tribune in November of 1907. A small bear in the cellar of the Cameron House caused considerable excitement among the guests yesterday afternoon. J.F. White, a traveling salesman from St. Paul, was the owner of the Cub and was taking the animal to Chicago for a friend, and while en route, stopped at this city for a short time to visit with friends. He tied the bear in the basement of the hotel, and a short time later, a few traveling men went to the basement. When they discovered the bear, a panic was started. The owner soon returned, and after putting the animal through a few stunts, boarded the train for Chicago.
On September 23, 1915, county court was filled with spectators and witnesses in the trial of William Hackett and his wife for assault and battery against William Funger, Mrs. Hackett's brother. Jacob Ruskin, a roomer at the Funger home, gave an almost complete list of the swear words which the English language affords. "I can't tell you what Mrs. Hackett said," Ruskin answered the attorney, who commanded him to repeat the names used by Mrs. Agnes Hackett. "You'll have to," said the court. And the courtroom was filled with blue for a few minutes. "Now you've got what you wanted," gasped Ruskin when he completed the naughty vocabulary, and a snicker went round the room. William Hackett was sent to jail for 15 days for his role in the fight. Despite the language recounted by Ruskin, Mrs. Hackett was found not guilty. Mrs. Nellie Reinhartz, the elderly mother of Mrs. Hackett and Funger, tried to separate the men while they were fighting. In the fracas, she was severely bitten on the hand.
Bank robberies are often big news, and the December 3rd, 1959 robbery of the Citizens Loan and Finance Company on Main Street was no exception. The size of the headline that day says it all, and readers were likely enticed into purchasing the Tribune to read all about it. Bank customers and employees must have thought they were in a movie when they heard the gunman say, "Give me the till or you'll be pushing daisies," a line he had surely practiced in the mirror that morning. Mrs. Mildred French, a loan officer, was covering the lunch break for the regular clerk at the time, and one wonders if she had the same kind of training in handling such a situation. Mrs. French was later reported to have thought he was joking at first, but changed her mind when the bandit put his hand in his coat, indicated he was holding a gun, and said, "This is a .45. Though a gun was never seen, the threat of such was enough for Mrs. French to hand him the cash drawer, from which he scooped out the money and left the office. Now, at the time of the Tribune headline story later that evening, city and county police had set up roadblocks in hopes of catching the criminal. As for the bank, while armed robbery is always a serious offense, surely the Citizens Loan and Finance Company was comfortably insured for the mere $133 stolen from the till. Must have been a slow news day to justify such a splashy headline notifying the citizens of La Crosse of the robbery of the paltry sum of $133. The Tribune editor had to go all the way to Chicago for the next biggest story of the day: man killed while trying to protect ducks from vandals. Here's hoping December 4th was more eventful.
And now for another reading from the La Crosse Tribune. William West, a horse and cattle dealer, lost an ear in a runaway last Saturday afternoon. In being dragged over a rough road, his head bounding along like a rubber ball, the ear was torn from his head. In the place of more severe injuries, the loss of the ear was the only hurt. The accident happened on the Mormon Coulee Road. Mr. West was driving a team of horses, one classed as a, quote, regular runaway. The fractious animal started to run away and took the gentler beast with it. West was thrown to the ground, but retained a tight hold on the reins. With the horses running, he was dragged along the road. The right ear became dislodged and dropped off.
In February of 1895, Detective John Cody knocked on the door of Miss Helen Miller in order to question her about a stolen gold watch. At first, she said she had no knowledge of the watch. Sensing a lie, Detective Cody pressed, and eventually, Miss Miller produced the missing timepiece. Cody pressed some more. She then produced a fur cloak that had also been reported missing. When asked about the purse filled with cash that had been in the pocket of the cloak, she merely turned over the purse. By the time the criminal deposition was over, Helen Miller had not only produced the watch, the cloak, and the purse, but also dry goods of every variety she had purchased with the cash.
Adolf Gunderson was born in Hedmark, Norway on October 8, 1865. He received professional medical training at the Royal University of Oslo in 1890. Soon after that, he joined the medical practice of Christian Christensen in La Crosse, Wisconsin. Here he became a pioneering surgeon in American medical history. Well before his American colleagues, Gunderson understood the importance of using sterile surgical equipment and how to keep post-operative infection at bay. He was one of the first surgeons in the United States to shave a patient before a procedure, something that got him in some minor trouble. One day, he received an angry letter from the Barbers Union. The letter stated that they had gotten wind of his practice of shaving patients, and they insisted that he cease the activity at once and place a union barber in the ranks. Adolf responded with a letter saying he would comply. He asked that they send someone right away in order to shave a patient's sphincter. He did not receive a response. And that's it for the interludes. I do want to mention a couple of things if you did enjoy that. Dark Lacrosse Stories, the collaboration with the Lacrosse Tribune. We've got 33 episodes out there. They're multimedia video. They've got images. We've got dramatic recreations or dramatic reenactments with some voice actors. They're mostly what you would have seen on stage, but there is some additional research that gets put on the end. Most of them are about 10 minutes. So that link I'll put in the chat there. It is on the Lacrosse Tribune website, 33 episodes of that. And then just very recently, some of you may have seen it, may not have known about it, but Fox 2548 created a TV show with amazing cinematography. The camera work is phenomenal, and it's something that we could have never done with some of these stories. It did feature 3 Dark Lacrosse stories that we've done on the stage and in the series. So I encourage you to check that out. You can't watch the full episode online anywhere really yet because they're trying to sell it to other TV stations, including PBS. They're hopefully going to make some more of these episodes. They plan to, but you can see the 3 parts of the episode, the 3 stories. You miss the intro, you miss the conclusion. But if you go to that link, you can watch the 3 parts of the episode separately. And Anita, myself, Anita Doring, the Archives Department Manager, myself, and a couple other folks were interviewed for that. Barry's one of the actors. Spoiler alert, he gets killed as part of a murder. So he dramatically recreates that situation. So anyway, I'll put those 2 links in the chat so you can check those out at your convenience. So thanks, everybody.
Awesome. Yeah, if you ever wanted to see me killed with an axe, you should check it out for sure.
It's worth it, everyone.
That's right.
Watch it.
Yeah, I get typecast as either a killer or a victim. Yeah, for sure. Okay, so our next reader is the newest Storytime for Adults regular. She's a teacher at Logan High School. Welcome, Emily Moots.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm happy to be back. So I'm going to be reading some of the Santaland Diaries by David Sedaris. I'm saying his last name right. Yeah, I'm like infamous for saying last names wrong and all names wrong. And as a teacher, that's gotten me into some sticky situations. But so Sedaris, lovely. Yeah, I hand selected the parts of the story that I liked. So hopefully you like them too. Okay. I was in a coffee shop looking through the want ads when I read, Macy Herald Square, the largest store in the world, has big opportunities for outgoing and fun-loving people of all shapes and sizes who want more than just a holiday job. Working as an elf in Macy's Santa Land means being at the center of the excitement. I circled the ad and then I laughed out loud at the thought of it. The man seated next to me turned on his stool, checking to see if I was a lunatic. I continued to laugh quietly. Yesterday, I applied for a job at the UPS. They are hiring driver helpers for the upcoming Christmas season, and I went to their headquarters filled with hope. In line with 300 other men and women, my hope diminished. During the brief interview, I was asked why I wanted to work for the UPS, and I answered that I wanted to work for the UPS because I like the brown uniforms. What did they expect me to say? I like to work for the UPS because, in my opinion, it's an opportunity to showcase my substantial leadership skills in one of the finest private delivery companies this country has seen since the Pony Express. I said I liked the uniforms, and the UPS interviewer turned my application face down on his desk and said, "Give me a break." I came home this afternoon and checked the machine for messages from the UPS, but the only message I got was from the company that holds my student loans, Sallie Mae. Sallie Mae sounds like a naive, barefoot hillbilly girl, but in fact, they are ruthless and aggressive conglomeration of bullies located in the tall brick building somewhere in Kansas. I pictured it to be the tallest building in that state, and I have decided that they hire their employees straight out of prison. It scares me. The women at Macy's asked, would you be interested in full-time elf or evening and weekend elf? I said full-time elf. I have an appointment next Wednesday at noon. I am a 33-year-old man applying for a job as an elf. I often see people on the streets dressed as objects and handing out leaflets. I tend to avoid leaflets, but it breaks my heart to see a grown man dressed as a taco. So if there is a costume involved, I tend not only to accept the leaflet, but to accept it graciously saying, "Thank you so much," and thinking, "You poor pathetic son of a bitch. I don't know what you have, but I hope that I never catch it." This afternoon on Lexington Avenue, I accepted a leaflet from a man dressed as a camcorder. Hot dogs, peanuts, tacos, video cameras, these things make me sad because they don't fit in on the streets. In a parade, maybe, but not on the streets. I figure that at least as an elf, I will have a place. I'll be in Santa's village with all the other elves, and we will reside in a fluffy wonderland surrounded by candy canes and gingerbread shacks. It won't be quite as sad standing on some street corner dressed as a French fry. This afternoon, I sat in the 8th floor Santa Land office and was told, "Congratulations, Mr. Sedaris, you are an elf." In order to become an elf, I filled out 10 pages worth of forms, took a multiple choice personality test, underwent 2 interviews, and submitted urine for a drug test. The first interview was general, designed to eliminate the obvious sociopaths. During the second interview, we were asked why we wanted to be elves. This is always a problem question. I listened as a woman ahead of me, a former waitress, answered the question saying, "I really want to be an elf because I think that it's about acting. And before this, I worked in a restaurant, which was run by this really wonderful woman who had a dream to open a restaurant. And it made me realize that it's really, really important to have a dream." Everything that this woman said, every phrase and sentence, was punctuated with a question mark, and the interviewer never raised an eyebrow. When it was my turn, I explained that I wanted to be an elf because it was one of the most frightening career opportunities I had ever come across. The interviewer raised her face from my application and said, "And?" I'm certain that I failed my drug test. My urine has roaches and stems floating in it, but they still hired me because I'm short, 5 feet, 5 inches. Almost everyone they hired is short. One is a dwarf. After the second interview, I was brought to the manager's office where I was shown a floor plan. On a busy day, 22,000 people come to visit Santa, and I was told that it is an elf's lot to remain merry in the face of torment and adversity. I promised to keep that in mind. The morning we were lectured by the Santa Land managers and presented with a booklet of regulations titled The Elfin Guide. Most of the managers are former elves who have worked their way up the candy cane ladder but retain the vivid memories of their days in uniform. They closed the meeting saying, "I want you to remember that even if you are assigned photo elf on a busy weekend, you are not Santa's slave." In the afternoon, we were given a tour of Santa Land, which really is something. It's beautiful, a real wonderland with 10,000 sparkling lights, false snow, train sets, bridges, decorated trees, mechanical penguins and bears, and really tall candy canes. One enters and travels through a maze, a path which takes you from one festive environment to the other. The path ends at the magic tree. The tree is supposed to resemble a complex system of roots, but looks instead like a scale model of the human intestinal tract. Once you pass the magic tree, the light dims and an elf guides you to Santa's house. The houses are cozy and intimate, laden with toys. You exit Santa's house and are met with the line of cash registers. We travel the path a second time and were given the code names for various posts, such as the Vomit Center, a mirrored wall near the magic tree where nauseous children tend to surrender the contents of their stomachs. When someone vomits, the nearest elf is supposed to yell, "The Moose," which is the name of the janitorial product used by the store. We were taken to the "Oh my God" corner, a position near the escalator. People arriving see the long line and say, "Oh my God." And it's the elf's job to calm them down and explain that it will take no longer than an hour to see Santa. On any given day, you can be an entrance elf, a water cooler elf, a bridge elf, train elf, maze elf, island elf, magic window elf, emergency exit elf, counter elf, magic tree elf, pointer elf, Santa elf, photo elf, usher elf, cash register elf, runner elf, or exit elf. We were given a demonstration of the various positions in action performed by returning elves who were so animated and relentlessly cheerful that it honestly embarrassed me to walk past them. I don't know that I could look at someone in the eye and exclaim, "Oh my goodness, I think I see Santa." Or, "Can you close your eyes and make a very special Christmas wish?" Everything these elves said had an exclamation point at the end of it. It makes one's mouth hurt to speak with such forced merriment. I feel cornered when someone talks to me this way. Doesn't everybody? I prefer being frank with children. I'm more likely to say, "You must be exhausted." I'm afraid I won't be able to provide the grinding enthusiasm Santa's asking for. I think I'll be a low-key sort of elf. Today was elf dress rehearsal. The lockers and dressing rooms are located on the 8th floor directly behind Santaland. Elves have gotten to know one another over the past 4 days of training, but once we took off our clothes and put on the uniforms, everything changed. The woman in charge of costuming assigned us our outfits and gave us a lecture on keeping things clean. She held up a calendar and said, "Ladies, you know what this is, use it. I have scraped enough blood out of the crotches of elf knickers to last me the rest of my life. And don't tell me, I don't wear underpants, I'm a dancer. You're not a dancer. If you were a real dancer, you wouldn't be here. You're an elf and you're going to wear panties like an elf." My costume is green. I wear green velvet knickers, a yellow turtleneck, a forest green velvet smock, and a perky stocking cap decorated with spangles. This is my work uniform. My elf name is Crumpet. We were allowed to choose our own names, given permission to change them according to our own outlook on the snowy world. Today was the official opening day of Santaland, and I worked as the Magic Window elf, a Santa elf, and an usher elf. The Magic Window is located in the adult quick peep line. My job was to say, "Step on the magic star and look through the window and you can see Santa." I was at the magic window for 15 minutes before a man approached me and said, "You look so fucking stupid." I have to admit that he had a point, but still, I wanted to say that at least I get paid to look stupid and that he gives it away for free. But I can't say things like that because I'm supposed to be merry. So instead I said, "Thank you, thank you," as if I had misunderstood and thought he said, "You look terrific. Thank you." Again this morning, I got stuck at the magic window, which is really boring. I'm supposed to stand around and say, "Step on the magic star and you can see Santa." I said that for a while and then I started saying, "Step on the magic star and you can see Cher." And people got excited. So I said, "Step on the magic star and you can see Mike Tyson." Some people in the other line, the line to sit on Santa's lap, got excited and cut through the gate so that they could stand on my magic star. Well, then they got angry when they looked through the magic window and saw Santa rather than Cher or Mike Tyson. I mean, but what did they honestly expect? Is Cher so hard up for money that she'd agree to stand behind a two-way mirror at Macy's? The angry people must have said something to management because I was taken off the magic star and sent to Elf Island, which is really boring as all you do is stand around and act merry. I spent a few hours in the maze with Puff, a young elf from Brooklyn, and we were standing near the lollipop forest when we realized that Santa is an anagram of Satan, Father Christmas, or the devil. So close, but yet so far. We imagined a Satan land where visitors would wade through steaming pools of human blood and feces before arriving at the gates of hell, where a hideous imp in a singed velvet costume would take them by the hand and lead them towards Satan. And once we thought of it, we just couldn't get it out of our minds. Overhearing the customers, we would substitute the word Satan for the word Santa. What do you think, Michael? Do you think Macy's has the real Satan? Don't forget to thank Satan for the baby alive he gave you last year. I love Satan. Who doesn't? Everybody loves Satan. Thank you.
That's great. Thank you, Emily. All right. So we're going to bring back Linda for another piece. Go back, Linda.
Hi, everyone. I'm back with a slightly longer piece. This one is, I had a kid ask me this question once, so you're going to have to forgive my librarian nerdiness because I'm going to share the answer with you. The kid asked me, why are reindeer associated with Christmas? And this is the answer. It's from a book called Christmas Miscellany. Everything you always wanted to know about Christmas. It's got lots of interesting facts about how we came up with traditions we have now. And this is the chapter about why reindeer are part of Christmas. It may surprise you to learn that reindeer did not enter the Christmas story until the 19th century, and it was all the fault of an American Episcopalian minister, Clement Clark Moore. It was Moore who composed the famous poem, An Account of a Visit from St. Nicholas, aka 'Twas the Night Before Christmas, as a Christmas treat for his own children. In his poem, Moore had a diminutive elf-like Santa pulled in a miniature sleigh by equally tiny reindeer. At one point, Santa reels off their now so familiar names, but which were new to those reading the poem when it first appeared in print back in 1823. Moore was embarrassed by his poem, which was wholly secular and mentions nothing of the religious festival that inspired it, beyond the name of St. Nicholas. At first, he didn't take credit for it. However, by the 1930s, it had really taken off, with children all over America expectantly awaiting a visit from Santa Claus on Christmas Eve as a result of his poem. Moore eventually decided it was time to come clean, and in 1837 he claimed authorship when it was published in a book of poems, and it appeared in an anthology of his own work in 1844. What is immediately apparent from a reading of 'Twas the Night Before Christmas is the complete lack of an appearance of the red-nosed reindeer himself, Rudolph. That's because he wasn't an invention of Moore, but appeared more than 100 years later. Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer first graced the page in 1939. It was a rather whimsical narrative poem written with the express intention of drawing more customers into the Montgomery Ward stores, and was the creation of Robert L. May, an American copywriter working for the department store chain. Rudolph subsequently appeared in an advertisement for the Chicago store. Many people know of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer in form of song, but it wasn't set to music until 1949. The composer was called Johnny Marks, and his musical version was recorded by the singing cowboy himself, Gene Autry, a big deal at the time. The song has been recorded by hundreds of other artists since then and has sold more than 80 million records worldwide. Did you know that when Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer was first published in 1939, it sold more than 2 million copies, and when it was printed again after the end of the Second World War in 1946, it sold another 3.5 million. And here are 10 things that you probably didn't know about Rudolph and his friends. 1. The reindeer is the only deer that can be domesticated and was the first hoofed animal to be so. It provides the nomadic tribes who live within the Arctic Circle, such as the Lapps, with milk, cheese, meat, fat, clothing, footwear, tools, which are made from the antlers and bones, highly durable bindings, made from the animal's sinews, and a means of transport. 2. The Finns once measured distance in terms of how far a reindeer could run without having to stop to urinate. The Porokusema is the measurement somewhere between 4 and 7 miles, and the word Porokusema itself means reindeer peeing. 3. A reindeer calf can outrun a man at only 1 day old. 4. A lady reindeer are the only females of any species of deer that have horns. 5. In Iceland, the reindeer meat is becoming an increasingly popular Christmas dinner choice. 6. The Lapp people of Scandinavia believe that taking powdered reindeer antlers increases virility. 7. Reindeer are able to walk over snow without sinking into it because their weight is distributed over a large area thanks to their wide splayed hooves. 8. One reindeer can hold twice its body weight up to 40 miles. 9. Reindeers are vegetarians by choice, but when the supply of greenery runs out, They will eat anything and everything, from eggs and shed antlers and even rodents. And 10. Male reindeer lose their antlers in the winter. Only females and castrated males keep them. So either way, it's not looking good for Rudolph. Having a red nose was actually the least of his problems. The end.
Nice. Thank you, Linda. All right. And then our last reader of the night is we're going to bring back Jess. Welcome back, Jess.
All right, for my last piece, I will be reading The Stupidest Angel, a heartwarming tale of Christmas terror by Christopher Moore. This takes place in Pine Cove, California, and all you need to know is that a woman has just shot her ex-husband, or sorry, not shot, but killed her ex-husband. A 7-year-old boy has witnessed it, and a misguided angel has promised to bring Santa back because the man was dressed like Santa. Joining me on musical interludes, Joe Ganser. Christmas crept into Pine Cove like a creeping Christmas thing, dragging garland, ribbon, and sleigh bells, oozing eggnog, reeking of pine, and threatening festive doom like a cold sore under the mistletoe. 3 blocks away, Tucker Case moped along Worcester Street, trying to exercise off his dinner of bad diner food with a brisk walk under the weight of a large measure of self-pity. He was pushing 40, trim, blonde, and tan. 50 feet above him, a giant fruit bat swooped through the treetops, his leathery wings silent against the night, so he could sneak up on peaches and stuff without being detected, Tuck thought. Roberto, do your business and let's get back to the hotel, Tuck called into the sky, and the fruit bat barked and snagged an overhead limb as he passed, his momentum nearly sending him in a loop around before he pendulumed and settled in an upside-down attitude. The bat barked again, licked his little doggy chops, and folded his great wings around himself to ward off the coastal cold. Fine, Tuck said, but you're not getting back in the room until you poop. He'd inherited the bat from a Filipino navigator he'd met while flying a private jet for a doctor in Micronesia. Tuck had once been a ladies' man of the highest order, a Don Juan, a Casanova, a Kennedy, sans cash. Yet now he was in a town where he didn't know a soul, and he hadn't even met a single woman to try to seduce. And then there she was, a damsel in distress, a woman alone out here in the night crying. And from what Tuck could tell by the headlights of a nearby pickup truck, she had a nice shape. Great hair, beautiful high cheekbones, streaked with tears and mud, but exotic looking. Tuck checked to see that Roberto was still safely hanging above, and then straightened his bomber jacket and made his way across the street. Well, hey there, you okay? The woman jumped and screamed a bit, looked around frantically until she spotted him. Oh my God, she said. Tuck had had worse responses. He pressed on. Are you okay? He repeated. You looked like you were having some trouble. I think he's dead, the woman said. I think I killed him. Tuck looked at the red and white pile on the ground at his feet and realized for the first time what it really was. A dead Santa. A normal person might have freaked out, backed away, tried to quickly extract himself from the situation, but Tucker Case was a pilot, trained to function in life and death emergencies, practiced at grace under pressure, and besides, he was lonely, and this woman was really hot. So, dead Santa, said Tuck. You live around here? I didn't mean to kill him. He was coming at me with a gun. I just ducked, and when I looked up, she waved toward the pile of dead Kringle. I guess the shovel caught him in the throat. She seemed to be calming down a bit. Tuck nodded thoughtfully. So, Santa was coming at you with a gun. The woman pointed to the gun lying in the dirt next to the maglite. I see, said Tuck. Did you, know this? Yes, his name is Dale Pearson. He drank. I don't. Stopped years ago, Tuck said. By the way, I'm Tucker Case. Are you married? He extended his hand to her to shake, and she seemed to see him for the first time. Lena Marquez. No, I'm divorced. Me too, said Tuck. Tough around the holidays, isn't it? Kids? No, Mr. Case, this man is my ex-husband and he's dead. Yep, I just gave my ex the house and my business, but this does seem cheaper, Tuck said. We had a fight yesterday at the grocery store in front of a dozen people. I had the motive, the opportunity, and the means, she pointed to the shovel. Everyone will think I killed him. Not to mention that you did kill him. And don't think the media won't latch on to that. It's my shovel sticking out of his neck. Maybe you should wipe off your prints and stuff. You didn't get any DNA on them, did you? She stretched the front of her shirt out and started dabbing at the shovel's handle. DNA? Like what? You know, hair, blood, semen, nothing like that? No. She was furiously buffing the handle of the shovel with the front of her tank top, being careful not to get too close to the end that was stuck in the dead guy. Strangely, Tuck found the process slightly erotic. I think he got the fingerprints, but I'm a little concerned about right there where your name is spelled out in magic marker on the handle. That might give things away. People never return garden tools if you don't mark them, Lena said, and then she began to cry again. Oh my God, I've killed him. Don't talk like that, Tuck said, trying to sound cheerful. Look, you got a perfectly good shovel here, and this hole's nearly finished. What say we shove Santa in, clean up the area a little, and I take you out to dinner. The Christmas tree took a wide left onto Cypress Street. Finding that somewhat suspicious, Constable Theophilus Crow pulled in behind it as he dug the little blue light out of the glove compartment of his Volvo and stuck it on the roof. Theo was relatively sure that there was a vehicle under the Christmas tree somewhere, but all he could see right now were taillights shining through the branches in the back. He hit the siren one time, thinking he'd better stop this before someone got hurt. There was no way that the driver under the Christmas tree could see the road clearly, and the tree was driving trunk first, so the widest, thickest branches were covering the front of the vehicle. The tree's tires chirped with the downshift. It killed the lights and screeched around the corner on Worcester Street, leaving a trail of rolling pine cones and pine fresh exhaust. He trained the headlights of the Volvo on the suspect evergreen and stood behind the car door for cover. God damn it, come out of the tree right now! He heard a car window whiz down and then a voice. Oh, my officer, you are so forceful. A familiar voice. Somewhere under there was a Honda CR-V and the woman he had married. Molly? He should have known. Even when she stayed on her meds as she had promised she would, she could still be artistic. Her term. The branches of the big pine tree shuffled and out stepped his wife, wearing a green Santa hat, jeans, red sneakers, and a jean jacket with studs down the sleeves. Her hair was tied back in a ponytail that trailed down her back. She might have been a biker elf. She rushed out of the branches as if she were ducking the blades of a helicopter and ran to his side. Look at this magnificent son of a bitch, she gestured to the tree, put her arm around his waist and pulled him close, humped his leg a little. Isn't it great? It certainly is, large. How'd you get it on the car? It took some time. I hoisted it up on some ropes and then drove under it. Do you think there'll be a flat spot where it dragged down the road? Theo looked the tree up and down, back and forth, and watched the car exhaust boiling out of the branches. I saved a ton of money, cut it myself, completely totaled my broadsword, but look at this son of a bitch. Look at this glorious bastard. You cut it down with your sword? Theo wasn't so worried about what she'd cut it down with, but from where she'd cut it. I think the problem is it's too big. She said, walking the length of the tree now, pausing to jump through the branches and turn off the Honda's engine. That's where you're wrong. Observe, double doors into the chapel. Theo observed. The chapel did indeed have double doors. There was a single mercury lamp illuminating the gravel parking lot, but he could clearly see the little white chapel, the shadows of gravestones showing dimly behind it, a graveyard where they'd been planting pine covers for 100 years. And the ceiling in the main room is 30 feet tall at the peak. This tree is only 29 feet tall. We pull it through the doors backward and stand that baby up. I'll need your help, but you know you don't mind. I don't. Molly pulled open her jean jacket and flashed Theo, exposing his favorite breasts, right down to the shiny scar that ran across the top of the right one, cocked up like a curious purple eyebrow. It was like unexpectedly running into two tender friends, both a little pale from being out of the sun, a tad humbled by time, but with alert pink noses upturned by the night chill. And as quickly as they appeared, the jacket was pulled shut, and Theo felt like he'd been shut out in the cold. Okay, I don't mind, he said, trying to buy time for the blood to return to his brain. How do you know the ceiling is 30 feet tall? From our wedding pictures. I cut you out and used you to measure the whole building. It was just under 5 Theos tall. You cut up our wedding pictures? Well, not the good ones. Come on, help me get the tree off the car. She turned quickly and her jacket fanned out behind her. Molly, I wish you wouldn't go out like that. You mean like this? She turned, lapels in hand, and there they were again, his pink-nosed friends. Let's get the tree set up and then do it in the graveyard. She jumped a little for emphasis, and Theo nodded, following the recoil. He suspected he was being manipulated, enslaved by his own sexual weakness, but he couldn't quite figure out why that was a bad thing. Sweetheart, I'm a police officer. I can't. Come on, it'll be nasty. Molly, after 5 years together, I'm not sure we're supposed to be nasty. But even as he said it, Theo was moving toward the big evergreen, looking for the ropes that secured it to the Honda. Over in the graveyard, the dead, who had been listening all along, began to murmur anxiously about the new Christmas tree and the impending sex show. Sundown, Christmas Eve. The rain was coming down so hard that there didn't appear to be any space between the drops, just a wall of water, moving almost horizontally on wind that was gusting to 70 miles per hour. In the forest behind the Santa Rosa Chapel, the angel chewed a Snickers. He was tempted to go find the child again and ask him exactly where Santa Claus was buried. He realized now that somewhere in the woods behind the church wasn't telling him much. To go back to get directions, however, would dilute somewhat the whole miraculousness of the miracle. This was Raziel's first Christmas miracle. He'd been passed over for the task for 2,000 years, but finally his turn had come up. He didn't like the whole abstract quality of the Christmas miracle mission. Go to Earth, find a child who has made a Christmas wish that can only be granted by divine intervention, and then you will be granted powers to grant that wish. Oh gosh, there were 3 parts. Shouldn't the job be given to 3 angels? Shouldn't there be a supervisor? Raziel wished he could trade this in for the destruction of a city. That was so simple. You found the city, you killed the people, you leveled all the buildings. Even if you totally screwed it up, you could track down the survivors in the hills and kill them with a sword, which, in truth, Raziel kind of enjoyed. A tree waving in the wind nearby snapped with the report of a cannon, and the angel came out with his fantasy. He needed to get this miracle done and be gone. Through the rain, he could see that people were starting to arrive at the little church, fighting their way through the wind and the rain, the lights in the windows flickering even as the party was starting. There was no going back, the angel thought. He would just have to wing it, which, considering he was an angel, he really should have been better at. He raised his arms to his sides, and his black coat streamed out behind him on the wind, revealing the tips of his wings folded underneath. In his best pronouncement voice, he called out the spell. Let he who lies here dead arise. And he sort of did a general hand motion to cover the area. Let he who does not live, live again. Arise from your grave this Christmas and live. Raziel looked at the half-eaten Snickers he was holding and realized maybe he should be more specific about what was supposed to happen. Come forth from the grave. Celebrate. Feast. Nothing whatsoever happened. There, said the angel to himself. He popped the last of the Snickers into his mouth and wiped his hands on his coat. The rain had subsided for a bit and he could see a ways into the woods. Nothing was happening. I mean it, he said in a big, scary angel voice. Not a damn thing. Wet pine needles, some wind. Behold, said the angel, for I am really not kidding. A great gust of wind came up at that second, and another nearby pine snapped and fell, missing the angel by only a few feet. There, it's just going to take time. He walked out of the woods and down Worcester Street into town. Wow, I'm famished all of a sudden, said Marty in the morning, all dead all the time. I know, said Bess Leander, poisoned yet perky. I feel really strange, hungry and something else I've never felt before. Oh, my dear, said Esther, the schoolteacher, I can suddenly think of nothing but brains. How about you, kid? Asked Marty in the morning. You thinking about brains? Yeah, said Jimmy. I could eat. The stupidest angel.
All right. Well, thank you, Jess. So that concludes the December edition of Storytime for Adults. Have a virtual hand for all our readers. Jess Whitkins, Joe Ganser, Linda Jerome, Emily Moots, Terry Holford, Scott Brower, myself. Let's see. Normally, if you've attended this before in person, pre-pandemic, we hold this at Turtle Stack Brewery, and we haven't been there since the pandemic started. You can see Jess Whitkins and Joe Ganser holding up. They've been our hosts for a few years, for 3 years, I think. So we're really looking forward to a day that we can be back there and do this in person for sure. In the meantime, you might want to visit them and thank them for buy a growler and thank them for helping the La Crosse Public Library. So we're going to see you next time, Tuesday, January 12th. The theme is the winter of our discontent. So we'll see how that one goes. All right. Well, have a good night, everybody. Thanks for coming. Bye-bye.